We're just leaving Basingstoke. It's been to collect from a customer. Yes, I know an Amber, but it was Amber when we went through, so we drove this flat.
Take the exit, then go right on the roundabout, second exit.
There we go. Yeah, so we expect from a customer.
Go right on the roundabout, second exit.
Going up towards Shrewsbury. I think the Shrewsbury, Ainsbury sort of area. Just past Stonehenge. It's going to deliver to a farm.
Go right on the roundabout, second exit.
Just watching on this one there. Sorry, my concentration is literally on the road at the moment. For obvious reasons.
Take the exit, F3, then take the motorway.
Yeah, and today I'd like to probably talk about the driver shortage, since my last video that I attempted to talk about it didn't come out. So, well, the industry is still having a driver shortage, and what I've been thinking about is, why is there a driver shortage? But to be honest, it's a very complex. It's not complex. There is some simple answers to it, but it may seem simple, but there is knock-on effects. And it just highlights other issues within the industry, like from the big companies. But you got to look at what incentive is there for people to become a heavy goods driver these days? Aside from maybe having a passion for the job or really wanting to do it, and even then, it's still putting people off. And one factor I believe is pay. I'm very fortunate in my job to be paid, pretty well, very well in most respects. It's a different planet of pay compared to some other companies. And yes, it does involve maxing hours out, but not to the extent that I'm, burnt out every week and all that. But because I know there's a few drivers who can sort of turn over monthly what I turn over every 4 weeks. But they are literally pushing things literally to the limit. And they have to hit the limit all the time to keep that pay up. If they even drop it, they lose a lot. But nevertheless, that's not a different subject, but that's getting a bit too far in detail. One thing is pay, because most companies you're only going to see per month probably in the region of 1,800, maybe £2,000, give or take, realistically in a reasonably good month, and probably even in a good month. And in the bad month you could be seeing like 1,500, 400, depending on what your pay is and what your contract states. That's what a lot of it also weighs on, is that a lot of drivers, I hope that I'm paid hourly as well, are paid hourly. And that has an effect, and that's another decision point people look at. Well, we get paid hourly, so what happens if they cut your shift in half, or you finish early, or you have to finish early? That means, if you finish by midday on the normal working day, and you start at 6 and finish at midday, you've only earned vaguely half of what you could have earned that day. The other factor is also how drivers are treated, and also conditions of admin facilities and all that, you know, rest areas, parking, you know, and how, as I said, going back on how drivers can be treated. I admit I'm very fortunate that, you know, a lot of my work is lone work doing the work I do, and where I do meet people, the vast majority have been fine. I admit within general knowledge, I would probably say the same out of my experience. But every so often you'll come across a very bad site, but it is a matter of life. You will come across people you would disagree with. I don't really want to overtake getting up this hill personally. I might have to. I won't be able to do it. So that's us out. Yeah, and it's a, you know, and another factor is people look at, you know, as I said, how they're treated. You know, what type of work, working hours. I don't think it's all about working hours, because commercial driving itself is well known for long hours. But I think partly it could be effect along a lot of people who may have families and all that. You might go, actually, it's a risk. I need to have Saturday and Sunday off, you might think, and I can't risk working an extra day when within this job you could do. There is certain exceptions and certain job roles that, yeah, in theory, yes. But if you get stuck out, or, you know, there might be a lot of pressure put underneath you to work that extra shift, especially when the work's up. You know, the other issue is going back to pay.
Take the exit 8A303.
And I think a lot of people forget this, and drivers forget this when they moan about all pay. I'm not trying to defend the companies here, but it highlights another major issue, is the undercutting that's been going on within the industry. Fair enough, it's business, and that's how business works, but it's got to a state where, you know, like certain big companies with Stuck and Ma and others of that description, they're not the only offenders. I haven't named them precisely there. They're trying to show a little bit of marginal respect to them. But, you know, a few, you know, the big boys within the industry have undercut the industry effectively. So anybody who's medium, small, certainly in the general haulage sector,
after half a mile, take the exit 8A303
it's a tough market.
Towards the southwest.
And the weights aren't as good as they used to be, by no means, because the undercutting. You know, so say for example, big corporation comes in and says, right, we'll take that job for half the price that guy's doing it for, even though we're, and this is backroom chat now, even though we're doing this at a massive loss, we can offset that from a more profitable side of our business. But so we get that off our competition. That's the idea. And the problem is, if companies are having to accept lower rates, means they have less money to have as profit, to have to increase pay, you know, replace the fleet, maintain the fleet. You know, it has knock-on effects. And they got to look at their priorities. What is their priorities? You know, yes, you could argue drivers should be pretty much up there, but also, you know, if they can't let the trucks fail. They have to keep up with regulations and all that, and that costs money. I know, yes, it sounds like I really am defending the big companies. No, I'm not. I'm highlighting that's part of why pay hasn't gone up. It's not an excuse for them as such, but certainly for smaller companies, you know, they have to accept what they can get partly. I know that from I worked with. I'm still working with a family company at the moment. When I worked with a really small family company before now, and, you know, that opened my eyes up for how things actually work within the industry. And also people be looking. Also, when they're looking at to go in the industry, be looking at how much it will cost them to go in. You know, on average, your you might get it cheaper than this, you know. I'll just put a ball figure out there. You're looking at around about, say, around about £4,000 or £5,000 to do all your licences, or you know, your class 1 licence, maybe do your rigid to gain your confidence on the way up, do your theory test, do all your CPC, maybe do an ADR or a specialist course on the side to give you a bit more employability. I think you can get it for a lot cheaper, around £3,000 I think you can do it for, I've heard. But I say around £5,000 gives you a bit of security. And even if it's £3,000, it's still a lot of money, you know, to fork out. And I think this is what a lot of people also look at, is what return do they have? Because they know every 5 years, potentially, because not all employers will pay for your CPC, or for you to do your CPC. So potentially you may have to, obviously, every 4 or 5 years renew your CPC. Yes, you can split that over the 5 years, do a bit each year, that's what you're meant to be doing, but still it costs money. You'd be surprised how much it all adds up to. There's not many professional jobs out there that require you to fork out a lot of your own money to stay in. Certainly not without major compensation or definite business will. And yes, this is one of the benefits of going to a big company. Chances are they will cover your CPC costs. And you know, as I said, the other bit I mentioned is how you can be treated. Certainly in big companies, you'll be literally a number. You know, the truck has more information than you do. The other thing also you got to consider is, you know, why people are put off, but when they look deeper in it, they look at parking, how much parking can cost, how much, you know, because if your company doesn't pay for the parking, yeah, it's £30 a night. If you choose to do services all the time, roughly, give or take, you can get a lot less than that, but that's the ballpark figure. Also, there's a lot less free places to park. It's getting more rigid. There's new regulations coming in all the time. You know, you're constantly having to watch over your shoulder to make sure you're not going to get backstabbed by the industry. You know, as soon as somebody has a great idea and brings in something, you know, like CPC, that got brought in, and there's nothing to say that they can't bring something else similar in to make it even more complex and more difficult. And you know, and when you weigh it all out between the pay, and yes, there is ways to earn decent money, and that it can be done within the industry to earn decent money. But it could either take your time, like me. You know, it's taken me 4 or 5 years to get to this position that I'm in the job that financially I'm very stable. I wasn't saying I wasn't very stable when I was on, you know, 1,800 a month. But this job makes a lot of difference, and believe it or not, being paid every 4 weeks. And I know, yes, somebody will probably argue, oh, that is monthly. Yes, in a way it is monthly, but not quite as monthly. So you don't have like your 5-week gap between pay, then a 4. Yes, you could have a shorter period, but with a 4, chances are you'll end up being paid twice a month, effectively, in the odd month. Also, it's easier to forecast when you're going to get paid. You know, I get paid every Thursday, every 4 weeks. So there's no gap, no deviation, there's no messing around. I also get a yearly bonus. As I mean, there's not many companies that will give you a bonus either. Or they'll say you can get a bonus if you meet certain requirements, like certain overtime requirements. I'm not saying you're going to get mugged off. So these cars get past. Yeah, I'm not saying you're going to get mugged off by companies and they're going to make sure you stay under. But trust me, they will find ways to get out of it or to avoid it or seen it happen to some drivers. And I'm not trying to make the industry sound all negative and bad. Try not to. No, it sounds like it. No. As I said, there is good employers out there, like who I'm driving for at the moment, you know, and small family companies. But I admit with some of the small family companies, you will have to accept potentially the wage is not always, depending on what work they do, is not always going to be that good, or it's not going to be the most competitive. I mean, as I said, the other choice people have is to go to the big companies, which, yes, fair enough, you look at the wages and actually that's a reasonable wage, you know. And yes, there is the odd place that you can break over 40 grand if you work with a co-op. They pay over 40 grand or so and you're home every night, all that. But you're just a number. You're in a different truck every day. And yes, it'll suit something down to, you know, a lot of people that might suit. A lot of people might enjoy that, but you know, there's pros and cons. I'm not saying that's the reason for the driver shortage, but you know, a lot of people look at the industry. I was talking to people who said they want to be truck drivers, and just, you know, as I stated, with all the new regulations coming out and the potential regulations that could be around, you know, the industry threatening driverless trucks, so that confuses things as well. I'm not using that as excuse, but a lot of the fault of the driver shortage is down to the industry. And what I mean by the industry, multiple companies, and I'm not going to say every company is red hot guilty and it's their fault, but as a whole, you know, because some certain bad eggs and you know, big companies that are obviously in the industry, you know, dominating it. You know, I mean, there's no easy answer, as what I was trying to get at earlier. There's no, like, that's the cure, that's how you can solve it. Because the good thing of been to quite a few different companies and also working around other companies as well, I've seen the pros and cons and what different issues are. There's company affected issues, you know, there's industry affected issues, so you know, and you know, if you're suddenly sat outside and looking at, oh, I've got to spend X amount of money to get into that industry, I've got to do that, and I probably may have to accept minimum wage more or less, and I'm driving a class 1 vehicle, and I could be treated like a number all day, and I'll be, and yeah, the problem with, another problem that there is also, some people are aware of this before they even consider putting money down to the test, that they realise that they might not like to be lone working, or, and they, you know, I'm not saying they should make their driver's test free, you know, that everybody should be given a class 1 licence, no, but that, you know, people look at it and go, I've got to pay thousands of pounds to get that licence, and there's a chance I may not like it, I may like it, may not. And not many people want to take the risk. Some people much rather go, right, actually, if I go down that career path, that guarantees me that wage, and I know I'll be home every day. Yes, I might not like being stuck in the office, but, you know, I end up with a decent paycheck each month. And that's what I think the number one reason is within the industry is pay. I'm not saying across the whole, every bit of the industry, no. But over the mainstream of the industry, the general haulage sector, that is one of the biggest issues, along with multiple other issues like how drivers are treated, facilities, no lack of toilets, lack of wash facilities. I mean, when I was working in the haulage, you go to a big RDC, massive place, and they're only in the rest area for the drivers where you have to stay when they tip you, they only have one toilet. Or if you're lucky, they might have a toilet that has 2 cubicles in and, you know, whatever else. But most of the time it'll be absolutely honking. And you might have a vending machine if you're lucky, for coffee, you know, etc. Or a sandwich if you're really lucky, and maybe a TV. And that's it. And maybe some drivers have dropped off some magazines, you know, or left some magazines that you can look at as well. I know. And yeah, it's a difficult subject to cover, so I've thought a lot about it. It seems like there's easy answers. As I said, raise the pay, you know, sort out the facilities, but it's very hard. Even though the industry has its own union as such, and representation, it doesn't get equipped with itself and say, look, we need to sort ourselves out, sort the pay out, and sort out the actual conditions. I understand, yeah, in a big company, it's not a surprise that you're a number. Sorry about that. Because, you know, you've got thousands of employees. You know, how is dispatcher Joe Bloggs going to remember, you know, 100 drivers? Some can, some can't. It's a shame that there is a shortage, but at the same time the industry complains about a shortage and yet it doesn't really do anything to sort itself out. That's probably the most frustrating thing to see, you know, is that the industry moans and groans every year. We're down X amount of drivers, X hundreds of drivers, thousands of drivers, you know, we require per year. But yet they keep all the conditions the same. They keep, you know, facilities, they keep, you know, how you're treated, exact same. Yes, in some areas they say there's been improvement, but I've got to still see in some areas. I've still been to sites that don't have toilets or don't allow you to use their toilets, believe it or not, even though they have passed that new, I think, was it a bill or whatever it is, rule out now within the industry, so they can't refuse you, but there's still the old place. Luckily it hasn't been recently or with this company, but when I was working in the last company we visited some customer sites that they had toilets but they wouldn't know to go to use the toilets. But you know, hopefully I'll do a video after this to discuss the more positive sides of the industry. It's always easier to talk about the negative stuff because it's always easier to whinge and moan and, you know, than it is to praise and to, you know, and I've tried to do through this, as I said earlier, is not to defend the industry but to be fairly respectful to it at the same time. I think I'm going to pull in. No, I pull into that services there. I'm going to say this. Yeah. And a lot. The other reason is because there's a lot more older drivers as well within the industry, which are now retiring. But there's not as many younger drivers starting out in the industry now. That's another big issue. That there is a generation gap within the industry. You know, there's a lot of old boys. I'm technically a very young person in the industry. You know, for somebody at 30, we class as very young within the industry. Yes, there's a lot younger. Bloody hell, that's a very smoky Land Rover. That doesn't look too healthy. No, and you know, as I keep saying, please comment down below. Tell me what you think the issues are. If you were a driver, what do you think is the primary issues? Why you think there's a driver shortage? I think also some of it's also bad PR. Is another, and stigma could be a factor as well. Could be another lane of ideas to go down why there could be not the pure reason, but to play, you know, the Yorkie eaters should become big and they're fat. You know, not the fattest, but you know, people look at negative stuff and go, there's not much PI out there, and they dig around and, you know, to realise you can be sat around at places for hours on end, which, yeah, some people will love, but equally a lot of people like to get on with the job, don't want to be sat around, and some companies don't pay to be sat around. You know, some companies have a strict policy saying, oh, if you're sat around for X amount of time, you're technically on rest, or, you know, have all sorts of get out clauses. And I'm very lucky in mine, I can be sat around at a customer all day long and I'll still get paid. There is a lot of difference through the industry. You know, there's a lot, you know, drivers who treat it better in one way, but maybe not so in other ways. Which it's like that across most industries. You know, different conditions of work, different, you know, pay, different hours, etc., etc. And yes, that's to be expected to a degree. Because, you know, so much variation in the transport industry. So I haul, you know, tanker-borne products and liquid products, stuff that can be pumped on, or you could be on the curtain side doing bricks or palletised work or wheels or whatever else, you know, you can mob on. And you got flat work with steel and etc., etc. And you know, you could argue I'm on the specialised side, but you've got the specialised sides as well to consider. So what I might do is pull into this services here, grab a quick cup of coffee. Well, I should have made one last place, but I had to suck out some IBCs, International Bulk Carriers, I think they're called, or bulk containers. Tight turn into the truck park area in this one, but oh well, it is what it is. At least I can get my Greggs coffee if they're open. It should be. Yeah, so I know, yes, I could have gone a bit deeper in the subject, but I know other YouTubers have sort of discussed it as well a little bit as a debating point. That island there that's a bit dodgy. It's actually alright with this. Should be aiming yourself. What I do is we will park here, because then we can reverse out and pull out. And yeah, to be honest, I was well, I'd done it earlier, or the other day, this chat. I had a lot more to speak about it because I was sort of really in the mood about it and fired up. I suppose I might retake this again, but you know, it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed kettle of issues in the industry. You know, you can ask somebody who would love to become a truck driver why and hasn't because of a certain reason, and I'm pretty certain the reasons will vary a little bit. There'll be probably a common one, and that'd be probably interesting to find out. And it's very easy for me, being a truck driver, to go, oh, that's definitely the issue, pay. But no, it might be, you know, the hours, it might be, you know, how you're treated. You know, and some companies don't treat the drivers very well. Because I've seen those companies, and that's one reason why I've never gone to work for them. or I've learned not to go to work for them. You know, when I was doing agency, that opened my eyes up to a lot. You know, I went to while I was doing agency work, I've driven for companies that, you know, I've pretty much, after that day's worth of work I was contracted to do, I've pretty much phoned the agency up and said, look, seriously, don't send me back there. You know. And yes, there's some have bit the bullet and went, actually, yeah, I'll go back, but I'm not going to apply for a job there. You know, and you know, you got to think about you know, how people are going to look at the industry from the outside. You know, what makes people get into a job. So comment down below. Please like if you like, dislike if you dislike. Any ideas down below, any commenting points, you know, to do a follow-up to it. Do you agree with what I said? Do you disagree with anything? I know, yes, there'll be certain bits I said that, you know, actually that's not really an issue. That's a localised issue. But there is big factors within the industry that have caused the mess. So yes, again, hopefully you've enjoyed. And as I said, please comment, please subscribe if you haven't, and those who have subscribed, thank you very much, even though it's still at the same figure as of today when I last checked. So I know no one else has so far subscribed, unless it hasn't updated quickly. So if you have, sorry, thank you very much. You know, and please subscribe if you want to see further content, and hopefully this will be done on my new computer that I'll be getting. Over and out.